Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this leadership meeting to order. It is Monday sometime in January, I swear. It is that crazy time. So we'll open this up with new business or announcements and introductions. I think the most important is our new commissioner this morning.
Well, good morning. I'm Doug Olson, sworn in a week ago today. Well, it was a Tuesday, I think, with New Year's Day. Anyway, so I've been on the job now a whole week, and I came back the second week, so that's a good time. So I have some things, but go do what you're doing. I'll follow your agenda and update people a little bit. Thank you.
For your benefit, what we normally do is we'll do the meeting, and then the commissioners final wrap up the round
Yes,
robin.
I recall from previous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late, and here are some pumpkin spice donuts, so maybe we should just pass them around.
Probably worth the drive. For those online, is there any introductions or announcements we'd like to start off with first thing this morning? All right, so there is a very short agenda today. Mostly we're really trying to check in after the holidays and see where everyone is at. If we want to jump in a little bit to just checking in with all the departments, I'd be happy to start with the HR updates, and then we'll go to Nick and just kind of start running there. I think, Rachel, there is one agenda item about civic clerk. Do you want to do that before we do the round robin?
Sure, yeah, it's just it's a brief one. So we hadn't really talked about this, but when it came time to do the leadership team posting last week, we have it set up in civic clerk, but we hadn't conveyed to the leadership team yet to submit an agenda item request through there. So I think just solidifying the protocol with that. So you will still do, will you or Debbie be putting the notice out to the leadership team to submit agenda item requests? I think that's usually Debbie asking. Okay. And then, so that'll be a reminder. She'll send reminders out to submit agenda item requests and then use that through civic clerk. So it'll be the same, go and select your items, attach some text for an item.
So I want to be thoughtful that whatever communication that we send it out to not just the leadership group, but to county managers. There are a number of individuals on county managers that might not be on the leadership meeting that still go to various leadership meetings or watch agenda items. I know the more formal Board of Commissioner agenda, it just went to the leadership team. Some of the managers who regularly do either fill in for a director or elected official may not get those notices.
So this would be a notice to submit the agenda item, which would be coming from leadership team. Anybody could still get the agenda and the meeting information once it's posted.
Okay, that was my bigger concern.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And maybe while we're talking about civic clerk, we're working out the bugs. The live streaming appears fixed today. There's a couple other lingering things. I don't know, what did you all receive for the agenda notification Friday? Was it a very generic, didn't say it was from BOC, didn't really say there was a meeting, or did it look like it came from the BOC and saying it was a board meeting? There were two types of notifications that went out, and I'm trying to figure out who got what.
I will look to
And there would have been one for each
accurate
community
answer.
board meeting,
Yeah.
leadership,
Yeah.
that's appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about the content in it.
So I signed up for the citizen notifications.
You should not sign up for citizen, or you will get two. If you
Yeah,
want to
I
get
got
two,
two.
go ahead.
I got
But
two.
we have leadership team in the system already.
Oh, I probably deleted it.
Okay, that's okay.
Sorry.
So I couldn't see the attachments, so when you click on the agenda item, Civic Clerk wasn't giving me access to the
Okay,
attachments.
you got the one that went to the staff citizen, or the staff, like the admin portal, not the
Okay.
public portal, which is where it should go, so.
Okay.
I suspect that's where they're, okay, so we're figuring that out. So I'm not surprised you probably got an agenda link that didn't go anywhere. But the information is on Civic Clerk, but the link, we're cleaning up. Otherwise, yeah, let us know if there's things that even if it looks odd, it may be the way it's supposed to be, or it may not be. So please reach out with any comments and feedback as we're trying to finalize this. But hopefully at the end of today, we're hoping to have all the bugs worked out. Most of them.
Access?
Access. Oh, do we have an update on Debbie or Jody's access? Is that
That was through IS, so I'm not sure.
Maybe just reach out to David and ask him specifically.
If he's leading that, I'll
Yeah.
contact him directly. Alrighty. Well, to wrap up the year, we do have a tentative agreement with AFSCME. We were able to finish that mid-December. That is going out to the AFSCME board or the AFSCME members for a vote. We should expect to see that sometime this week. We have a placeholder on the Board of Commissioner agenda this Wednesday in anticipation, but should we not get a vote or that anything happen, we'll pull that and postpone it for the following week. We will have a tentative pay plan and discussion for that item. And then on the board briefing, there will be conversations about non-rep and elected official compensation. There's just some dialogue there that we want to make sure that we are able to have before we put a formal agenda item to the Board of Commissioners. With the upcoming snow event and the change in chair, if we do a county closure, just a gentle reminder that the county managers is the one that's going to go to everybody. The last flooding event, it went to county leadership. There were a couple of directors that were in meetings and didn't get that notice until maybe an hour and a half later. And so if we could please send it to the county managers. That way our supervisors, even if we're away and stuck in a meeting, will get that just as timely.
It usually is. It was an oversight.
Yeah,
But
that
thanks for
event
the reminder.
happened very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
But just wanted to, with
Thank you.
Commissioner Bell taking over the chair duties, that we just chatted about that
Yes.
today. We have lots of things to talk about with HR, but everyone's getting busy this year, so go ahead and just do a check-in and see where everyone is.
So Veteran Services in 2023, we filed approximately 230 claims. We helped our veterans receive an estimated $85K in new monthly payments and $501K in retroactive payments. The VA is processing claims faster than normal because they're using AI. Our new goal for us in 2024 is to pitch state and federal ancillary benefits to all our veteran clients. We want to ensure that each veteran is receiving every benefit that they may be eligible for. And we got a visual. So we're going to be handing this visual to each one of our clients. I'll just pass this around.
And you said state, federal, and what kind of benefit?
Federal and state
Federal.
and county benefits. You know, we're trying to bring outside money into the county. That's, you know, one of our main goals.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thank you.
Well, those are some great numbers. We'll go ahead and go to you, Commissioner, we'll wrap up.
We are fully staffed now, almost 1 month, so that's very exciting. So we're heavy into training our 2 new office specialists, and that's going really well. So excited about that. Prepping for getting stuff rolled out for the presidential primary. So the filing deadline will be here in March, and I think every position now has been filed for, so that's exciting. And we do have just, we're doing a Narcan training for election workers tomorrow and Thursday. So we have a couple spots on Thursday if anyone has staff that want to attend that. But with the mail that was sent out to election offices prior to the November election, just in November, we wanted to make sure that our election workers were trained on what to do should a powdery substance be in ballot envelopes as they're opening them and preparing them. So we'll be doing that this week. So I do have, I think, like 4 spots on Thursday if anyone has staff that want to attend that. She's going to go over Narcan, fentanyl, and then any other suspicious powdery substances that could be inhaled as well. So
Do you know what time of day Thursday?
it's at 10 o'clock. It's from 10 to 11. And I do have, I think, one more spot tomorrow if anyone wanted to do the one tomorrow. But yeah, so just let me know.
Several things. The DA remodel is going really well. They're done with the demolition. They're done running the utilities, and they're starting to shape up. So that is all going well. Thanks for your patience as we navigate that. The strategic plan that continues to move along behind the scenes. There's a subcommittee of the leadership team and a member of the Futures Council participating in the Vision, Mission, Values Committee. I don't think they've met yet, but they're working on what the vision, mission, value should be and starting to work on some of the focus area work. Upcoming, the board's going to be considering the 4th task order by the end of the month, and then we'll be scheduling, and that is for the outreach, which will go to all county staff, key county partners that we identify, as well as the entire public. So we'll have a survey that goes out to get feedback, and then there will be 2 3 to 4 hour leadership team meetings, probably at the end of February or in March, to dive into the focus areas and start working on action plans. What action plans we want to focus on, that will be included in the strategic plan. So I will do my best to coordinate schedules there as that gets closer. The radio project, there is a poll this week that our consultant is doing to acquire information from 400 voters. That's randomly selected, working with, you may have gotten a request from our consultant for that. No, not yet, okay. To reach out to voters to gauge their knowledge of the radio system and interest in supporting a public or a general obligation bond. We are looking at the project is $27 million. We have $2 million from the federal government. We're looking at a $25 million bond. I hope we don't have to ask for that much, but given the timeline of any grants, we're probably going to have to ask for the full amount of the voters, and then if grants come in, we don't have to levy as much. So our target is to have that poll completed next week. The board will consider results as early as next week, and then they will need to decide hopefully by the end of January if that is going to go on the ballot, and then we will start working on the campaign for the November ballot. So a lot of work coming there. The Kiwanda Corridor project, Cape Kiwanda parking lot reconstruction is going very well. They're focusing on the north side of the parking lot. Last week they were demolishing the ramp, and we are on track to wrap up the north side of the parking lot by March, and then they'll transition to the south side, and the north side will be open. So that is going well, with the target of having the full parking lot be operational by summer. Tomorrow I am meeting with the Tourism Advisory Committee to listen in on their review of the Transient Lodging Tax Facilities grants. There's a total pot of $400,000 that we've given to Visit Tillamook Coast. Each grant will have a cap of $75,000, and so after tomorrow there'll be a list that's a ranked list that is generated for recommended funding that'll come before the board before the end of the month. You may have heard about in the media about the North Coast Fire and Rescue District being formed. It started with, there's a Garibaldi Rural Fire District and there is a Garibaldi Fire Department. They were looking at dissolving the district. A group has been looking at dissolving the district and merging Garibaldi Fire with Bay City Fire. Those two cities and the district were working on that together. The work on that, as I've described, has ceased, and Garibaldi is just working on it independently. They have requested that the county lead the formation. There's a couple of ways that a district can be formed. They have requested that that the county leads the formation of that district. I received a packet of information after reviewing it and going through statutes with council and what the timeline would be to get that on. They wanted to put it on the May ballot. The packet did not have all the information required, and if it did, the deadline, we would have been able to meet the deadline to get it on the ballot with all the public hearings and all the public noticing by about 2 days. So the short story there is you may be hearing in the community that the county has been asked to form the district. The deadlines were not meet for May. It's my understanding that they do not want to do a November ballot, so that may be coming next year. I'll be meeting with them next week to talk about, because we didn't have a meeting before this happened, we just received the information. So I'll meet with them next week with council to better describe the process so they're more informed on the timelines if they want. They could do it for November, but I don't think that's their intent, so.
Why don't
If
they
you hear
wanna
about
do-
that.
Why don't they want to do November with too much noise and too much other stuff?
So just if you're hearing that in the community, that is what is going on from the county's side of things. And then lastly, the courthouse, the county annex conversations are back in full swing. The Oregon Judicial Department and Association of Oregon Counties Court Facilities Task Force has begun meeting in preparation of their ask to the legislature for the 25-27 biennium. What that means to us is we have a request that was put in for the last biennium, and we didn't get funded because of some of the things that had transpired last year. So where we are this year is we need to tell them what we are going to do if we're going to do anything. We have a new opportunity that is also presented to us that we explored on Friday. And yes, I'm being a little vague, but the short story here is the conversations are going to be happening again. The board is going to be meeting this week to talk about those, and if the board is going to decide on what may happen with circuit court, if we're going to resume a county building annex here, the board will need to decide that again at the January 24th meeting, because we need to have a submission to OJD by the 29th, which means the board will need to tell me if they want to put anything on the January 19th agenda posting. So more to come there, and those are big, heavy discussions. So those are my updates.
Sergio? So it's after the first of the fiscal year. Budget season is going to ramp up. The calendar will go out this year. I just confirmed with Debbie last week. The budget dates, which will be I think it's the first week in April. The 9th, 10th, and 11th will be the workshops, and then May 8th for the final workshop. So that'll be going out to department heads this week. We also, I needed to ask about the meetings for the budget workshops and how that is going to work with Civic Clerk, or if I'm just sending out a new Teams link, or do I send a request to Debbie or Isabel for that?
We can do, let's talk about that offline. There's a couple of options.
Okay.
We're trying to let's talk offline about that.
Okay, because I didn't know how the recordings with the auditors, they always ask for where the recording's at and listen to them. So I just needed some sort of direction of where it's going with that, because I previously just used the VOC link for the meeting. We had 7 applications received from budget committee members. Currently I don't have a quorum, so I can't even call a budget meeting. And I'm hoping we're getting those interviews scheduled in the next couple of weeks. Is that correct, Rachel, Isabel, Debbie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very well qualified applicants, so very happy about that. I did have some feedback from my department about the door decoration and the holiday spirit. Enjoyed it, had a blast. Kind of wondered if we kind of brainstormed down there whether we could do the stroll earlier in the week, because we have a lot of cookies left over. And so we took a lot of cookies home that I didn't really want to They were delicious, but I don't need them. You know, my family doesn't need them, so wondered if we could do that earlier in the week, so that way, if you're also like me and you forget that you're supposed to bring a food donation in to pick out your favorite door, you had a couple days during the week to do that. So just some ideas that we were throwing around down in our office. One of them, she also works for one of the food banks up north, recommended bringing in socks or clean, new underwear instead of just perishable food. She says a lot of people at the food pantries are looking for items like that. So just kind of throwing that out. Also, reports in the dashboard for December will be going out, should be going out to everybody and available today. It's going okay, I guess is what I will say. We're up about 200,000 from where we were last year, at least in the general fund at the end of December, so that's good. We've had a 7.3% turnover in the general fund. Overall, we've had an 8.87% turnover. Materials and services in all departments seem to be up. So I just ask people that they really take a look at what they're spending their funds on and whether it's really necessary going forward, because our employee expenses are going to go up, as Jody alluded to with the AFSCME contract being ratified. Our employee expenses are going to go up for the rest of the fiscal year. So it might be things you're looking at is, do you really need to go to that conference? Do you really need, that new chair? I know those are little items, but all the little items add up. And I think that was all I had.
The budgets, you said you're sending them out.
Calendar. I'm sending the calendar
Oh,
out.
the calendar out.
Yeah, the budgets will be going out the first part of February. I just tried to open
And do first week of March or so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to open it, it wasn't open.
Okay.
And then meetings with liaisons the last 2 weeks in February. Any questions, or is that good?
I don't have much in the way of updates unless anybody's got any questions about the juvenile department.
Any questions? I just wonder generally if it's picking up, how it was flat through COVID. Is it picking up?
So the referrals to the office, and I haven't really run, I can easily run numbers if somebody wants numbers, but generally speaking, I would say our referral level has not recovered from what it was pre-COVID. And I think ballot measure 110 is a big part of that, because prior to ballot measure 110, we were able to do quite a bit with the kids that got referred for those types of offenses, and now we're not really seeing those referrals. We're still seeing referrals for alcohol possession and marijuana possession, but the other types of street drugs, we're not really seeing those. And I know that there's some work going on in Salem about kind of trying to bring juveniles back into discussion, because the discussion among the Juvenile Directors Association, and I think this is pretty accurate, is that juveniles were completely left out of the ballot measure 110 discussion. And I think that there's some work going on through legislative concepts to try to empower the juvenile departments to do a little bit more than what we're able to do now. But we can only respond to what we see referrals from.
Sure.
Is the short answer.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
but yeah, we have not come back, just in terms of raw numbers, we haven't come back to where we were before COVID.
Okay.
So,
Well, it makes sense with the impact of 110.
Yeah.
That would have changed also.
yeah.
I have a friend who works for Oregon Youth Authority, so I was thinking about you recently because she told me that another state, and I've forgotten which one now, closed all of their juvenile detention facilities and kicked, all of their state facilities, and kicked all of the juvenile issues back to counties. And I thought,
Was
oh
it
my
California?
gosh. Oh, you might have been.
Yeah, I believe that California closed all of their, because we have McLaren and we have the two facilities here, so those, I believe California closed those level of facilities.
Yes.
And now the counties are
Yes.
responsible for administering, they're doing probation, and they're doing what would be parole now. So, there's, yeah.
And
that-
kids who were previously detained now aren't, or their detention is the responsibility of counties.
Correct. So, yeah, I think the Oregon Youth Authority does a lot of things right. One thing they're in charge of is the JJIS system. And my understanding is that all kinds of states are reaching out to Oregon. One example is Michigan. Michigan has 86 counties, I think, and nobody uses the same system for keeping track of juvenile justice information. So, what a nightmare.
Yeah. Really?
And all the counties and the state use the same system. So it's nice.
That's good. Yeah.
So I'll call off those of you who are online just by kind of the order. So Sarah, do you have a report out?
We can't hear you, Sarah.
We don't hear you in the room. It sounds like folks online can hear you.
Yeah, that's what they're saying in the chat. They can hear her, but we can't hear her.
Is there something going on with our speaker, Debbie?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Good morning, Good morning.
No.
we can't hear you, Sarah.
So that's our recording, that's our live stream.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can hear Sarah.
All counties and the state.
How about again, Sarah?
The room. It sounds like it's folks
And
online can hear you.
cannot hear me.
We can now.
I can hear you.
Over here.
Okay, now I can't.
So I'll call out those of you who are
and then you come
online.
back.
All right, somehow this is the live stream and the room audio is mixed up.
Do you want me to turn my speakers on? I don't know what that would do.
Should I end the live stream?
I don't really have good guidance for you on this. I think you need to contact ISW.
Okay.
Maybe we do commissioner updates while we're waiting.
Or,
Can you hear us?
yes.
We can,
Okay.
Sarah, but it's because we have one of the microphones unmuted that was that was causing us to hear ourselves talk back. So we can hear you, but we also hear, we'll hear my voice in about 20 seconds on top of you.
So
So
it was playing back the live stream.
David's up here, we're trying to see if we can resolve
I know,
it.
it was looping, I could hear it.
And now we can't hear in here even though I have the mic on. As
Well,
you
let's go to
talk.
Doug.
I love technology.
I don't know why.
How about Chris? We heard
Is the
Chris.
clerk one of the layers of this meeting?
I think we're going to do
This
the
isn't-
commissioners report out while they're working on the technology.
It's just, yep.
You want me to go ahead?
Please.
Okay, well, let's see, and I'm sure Chris will talk about this. Sand Lake Road that part of it fell into the beach and the ocean is, there's a way forward, but it's gonna cost money. But as you may have seen, late Friday, the governor declared a state of emergency in like maybe five or six counties, including Tillamook County. So that's a good thing, because I'm sure there'll be some money there. The bad thing is there's quite a bit of groundswell in South County, where I live, of how to beat the system, how to go through and go around, driving either on the beach or moving barricades and going around. And then there's somebody else who's mad at the county because we haven't declared eminent domain to take the back road that goes up through a private subdivision and then comes around. And I don't think they understand eminent domain. I've been through that a few times, and you don't just, check a box. It's a little more complicated than that, but anyway. So the frustration level is there, and I'm sure it'll get worse as time goes on. So, but Chris can speak to that better. There's a roads advisory today, which I will go to that committee. That's one of my liaisons. And then the Fair Board tomorrow, that'll be my first Fair Board meeting, and Commissioner Bell had that for many years, so I'm looking forward to that and to find out what's going on at the fair. I started visiting city councils. I was in Manzanita last week, trying to make it to Rockaway and possibly one other this week, and I'm gonna hit them all, including Tillamook, as Nick and I spoke earlier.
To hear Sarah.
I'm meeting with the sheriff this week to look at what's going on out there. So I'm gonna try and get to every department over the next 6 weeks, including juvenile and others, and just say, you know, one-on-one, what are your issues, meet your staff and so on. And so I put a face with a name and all of that.
I mean, it's.
One more thing, I'm also, been the president of Tillamook Lightweight now for several years when I was on the PD board, and I'll represent the county now. One of the 3 members, it's the county, Tillamook PD, and the port. The port has withdrawn, which they were entitled to do under their agreement. And so we're looking for a 3rd member. So tonight I'll be discussing that possibility with the college board, and I invited President Tomlin to our last meeting, and he came over with a couple of his staff. And so we'll continue that discussion. Then Wednesday, I'm presenting to the 911 board, and then I didn't quite connect with Colpack when they were in their new director was in Tillamook last week. So I'll either go up and see him, or we'll connect somehow online and see if they have an interest. So I'm sure we'll get a 3rd member, might even get a 4th, and then, we'll take that from there. Last question I had, and I know this has been a topic, I've heard just discussions online and reading stuff about the property sales on foreclosed properties and the excess money, and some of you may know that went into the court system, and the courts have ruled, I think at the appellate level, that if a tax bill is, let's say, in arrears $15,000, and it's gone through the cycle of 3 + 2 and so on, and then the county forecloses, sells it, and they sell it for $100,000. What happens to the $85,000? Well, some counties around the country have been keeping it, and that was challenged, and I believe the counties lost. And I don't know that it's an issue here. I know Rachel's aware of that, but it's I think that's taking on a serious question now. And Rachel, you may know more. Maybe you could speak to that subject as well.
Yeah, so, there's a lot happening at the legislature, hopefully this session.
In Oregon.
Yeah, and there's an AOC committee working on it. The county's position has been just to not sell any properties. So since that court case decision came down, we've elected not to sell any properties. We have some outstanding land sale contracts that we're still receiving revenues from, and we're tracking all of that in case it is determined that those are surplus proceeds. There's a lot of questions still about what is surplus, how far back does this go, so on and so forth. So we're just not doing anything at this point. Yeah.
Probably
A lot more to come.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of counties in Oregon that are actively selling properties. And they've made decisions on their interpretation of the statute, and they're proceeding accordingly, but we aren't doing anything.
So more to come, and it may be adverse to counties if
It is adverse to counties. There is no way, what is clear is if we have a property we received through tax foreclosure and the taxes and fees maybe were $5,000, and it has a real market of $200,000, and we sell it for that, which has been our protocol, which a lot of counties do, we would keep the surplus, as they're calling it. What is clear is we cannot do that anymore. What is unclear is what can we keep, if anything. We're pretty sure we can keep the taxes and fees, because that's clear, but administration of selling it, cleanup costs, that's a little bit more of a gray area. But we know we will not be keeping any proceeds above that. One of my big questions is, does that mean we're going to sell a property for real market value anymore? I don't want to do that, but before that's, I don't want to have the county sell a property, make $200,000 on it, and then turn around and find the prior owner and give it to them, which is basically what the statute says. So the board will need to decide what they want to do with that. But hopefully a lot of that is clarified in legislation, which is yet to be.
Okay, well, we have a story yet to be told. but
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's all.
Well, we're, in terms of a New Year's message, we are of course delighted to welcome Doug to the board. That's exciting. And I look forward to working with Doug and all of the liaison responsibilities. I know they're looking forward to working with you also, so that's nice. I have been working out at Parks, and I met with Jody yesterday, no, not yesterday, but last week on Friday, and as of Friday, there were 30 applicants for Parks Director, so that's exciting. I don't know yet, maybe Jody doesn't know yet, how many of those are highly qualified, so they haven't been vetted yet, but that posting is open until the 14th, and so we'll be looking for a new Parks Director, hopefully, fingers crossed. I've been working with Jody on the organization of the park structure and what positions they had previously and which ones might be more beneficial. So that's great. It's a good time, like anytime there's substantial change, it's a great opportunity to look at efficiencies, to look at what has worked, what hasn't worked, what might we change up. You know, there's a lot of stress in change, but also a lot of opportunity. And some things are going really, really well there. We hired recently 4 people who had been temporary workers for Parks for some time. So we hired them as county employees, and they were thrilled, and it was a terrific morale builder. So that's great, and luckily that all of this is happening during the winter. So we need to get ready for the summer. Parks is very, very popular. The popularity of camping is growing. So Parks did 25% more business in this last year than they've ever done, ever. So the popularity of camping is growing dramatically. And so anyway, there's a lot of work to be done, but thank goodness all of this is happening in the winter. And another thing I'm very much involved in is TBCC. I'm the president of that board, and we're working on the presidential search. And today, hopefully, we have a board meeting tonight. Doug's going to come and make a presentation about Lightwave. And we will ideally make an offer or ratify a contract with the new president. So we haven't announced anything about that yet because we don't have a contract yet. But hopefully that's moving forward. And here's something interesting about our job. You know, one of the cool things about being commissioner is you get to be involved in everything. And random things come up that were unexpected. So yesterday I went for a walk with an RN who said, you know, I've been thinking about burnout in my field, and that's certainly true. You know, there's a drastic shortage of RNs everywhere. And they fled from the industry during COVID. And so she talked about, I think we need new best practices for RNs about self-care and preventing burnout. And those don't even exist now. It isn't even part of our industry. And so she wanted to talk about that, talk about developing something, talk about working with TBCC because they have a brand new RN program. And then, you know, hopefully in a bigger way, like with the county and with Advanced Health, et cetera. So it was a very interesting, meaningful conversation, and it made me grateful for my job in the sense that you know, commissioners really do get to learn about and talk about everything that's going on in the community. So that's cool, and I'm grateful. And I think about, at the beginning of the year, I think about like pressing a reset button and what am I grateful for and how do I want to move forward in this year. And I'm just really grateful for people. So I want you all to know that I am grateful for the people I work with. I think we are an outstanding team. They're fabulous people who work for the county, and I'm grateful to be serving with all of you.
I think think we're okay.
Do you want to try Sarah again?
Sarah, do you want to try this again?
Sure.
Hey. Yep, we can
Sounds
hear
great.
you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning. I'm sorry I'm not there in person today. We've got some scheduling challenges over here with sickness, so I don't know if everyone else is experiencing that in their departments, but it seems a lot of folks have been sick the last 2 weeks. So a couple of noteworthy updates. As some of you may be aware, Brent Blaylock was formally appointed as the county's building official a couple of weeks ago. So we are really excited about that and excited to have him in that position representing Tillamook County and managing the county's building program. We are recruiting for a permit technician. So if you know anyone that's looking for a job in a very fast-paced, exciting environment, that job is currently open, and that permit tech will support the short-term rental program. So that's someone that will work directly with myself and a couple of others. With that biological opinion update, I want to thank Lori McKibben, Wendy Shank, and others for helping to collect the data for the scoping process. We're working on the socioeconomic impacts of implementation of the BIOP, they've been wonderful in helping us get information and data across to our attorney, Molly Lawrence, to submit that. With that, the Oregon Home Builders Association secured a hearing with Legislative Subcommittee on Natural Resources and Land Use this Thursday, so I will be attending that to help testify on impacts of implementation. So Molly and I will be doing that, and we are getting ready to submit a declaratory statement to intervene on the Center for Biological Diversity's lawsuit. So as you're aware, the Center for Biological Diversity did sue FEMA late summer due to lack of execution of implementation of those regulations. This declaration was given to me today, so that is off to attorneys for review so that we can move forward with that. Rachel, with respect to the strategic plan update and the committee to work on the mission, values, and vision statement, we are meeting January 16th. Don was the only one, I think, that I still need confirmation from that he's able to meet that day, but want to thank everyone for jumping into that and helping with that. The short-term rental program, so this is the year starting in 2024 where we're going to start seeing a lot of compliance requirements with the amended and updated regulations for the program. Public Works, I want to thank them for their help on that. There's some changes that require evaluation of on-street parking and traffic congestion, and so we are working through all of that, and we'll have probably Rachel would like to do a board briefing at some point to give the commissioners an update, invite Dan Kearns to come and do that. So maybe if you're the appropriate person for me to coordinate with to get that on a board briefing agenda, or Chair Bell would like to do that.
Sarah, you can coordinate with
And
them on
then
that.
Debbie, okay, yep, is there, yeah, just, yep, I will probably reach out and do that here this next week. And then other noteworthy update, with housing, we received a technical assistance grant from the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development, upwards of $250,000 for technical support and funding to help with all of the zoning code updates for implementation of Senate Bill 406. This will also tie back into the tri-community work. So we have consultants that DLCD, instead of going through an RFP and working through having to manage those contracts, DLCD has actually assigned those consultants as part of the technical assistance grant. So excited to keep moving on that. And then this last week we heard the final 4 of the 8 applications submitted for the county's multifamily housing rental fund, which is supported from short-term rental operator license fees. We have roughly $400,000 to allocate this year. The Housing Commission heard the final proposals last week. Thank you, Sean, for jumping in and listening in on those as well. And the Housing Commission will be making recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for awards probably sometime in February. But great projects. There were some projects upwards of 50 dwelling units for proposal, and others that included rehabs of existing housing units in our communities. And again, it was countywide. So lots of good stuff. Excited to see where that goes with the Housing Commission and with those recommendations will be to the board. So thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Chris, what about Public Works? Do you have a report for us today?
Couple things. Try not to go too lengthy. Jody, I want to especially thank you for getting us past the hurdle that none of your predecessors have been able to do with the class and comp that made the budgeting, the contract negotiations run pretty smoothly. With all the horror stories I've heard about the contract negotiations, this was, it went pretty clean. And again, it's none of your predecessors were able to get us over the hump, so thank you for getting that done. Couple updates, solid waste. First and foremost is be getting ready to start getting a loan that will increase the revenue that was kind of missing in the budget. And once that's there, we'll be able to start doing some additional work out there. So in our revenue, as it was projected, it was including money from a loan, so the revenue amount's been a little off. Commissioner Olson mentioned that we did get a declaration from the governor. The declaration was limited to work on federal aid routes. On the emergency world, you have two pot of funds for road department. One is FEMA and the other one is federal highway. Federal highway declarations are separate than FEMA declarations, and those are money that's available for federal aid routes such as Miami and Sand Lake Road. It is not eligible. Projects that are not on the main routes are not eligible for federal highway money. So that leaves one of our three major projects, Big Trout Bridge, is really hurting for money. Been working a lot with the state bridge engineer and state ODOT financing to try to come up with some additional funds on that. This has been discussed in board briefings. So the three big projects were Miami Foley, that Crystal Creek has been, we put that together in 10 days. That was a little bit of an anomaly. The bridge was already designed. We already had a contractor on board. ODOT had a contractor on board. So all their bondings and things of that nature were actually tied to ODOT. We essentially just accelerated that contract. So built that in 10 days. ODOT is now analyzing what their plans need to change based on what we had done. So there is more work to be done on that bridge. We just got it so that you can drive across it. Big Trout is the second of the three big projects. There's really no great wins to that. If you're interested a little bit more on the Big Trout Bridge, you can chat with me after this. If not, that's okay. Sand Lake Road Slide is probably our biggest thing that's going on right now. Today the contractor, the utility company has trucks up there to identify the depth of the utility line up there. And we're working through some of the final contract negotiations with at least Public Works and the contractor to get that together. It's kind of a unique contract. We're in a design build scenario, which is a little unusual for road departments, Public Works, ODOT in general. So this type of operation is usually done under design build, one contract, plus we're going through the emergency process for procurement. The construction right now is scheduled, so today they're getting some of the final information on the depth of utility. And then when the nails get installed up there, which is stabilizing the uphill lane and uphill lane only, that work will start early next week and anticipated completion in the middle of March. People have been going through there, they've been cutting the locks, they've been moving the concrete barriers, they've been driving around. They won't be able to do that when the big heavy equipment shows up. So they might as well start adjusting for their traffic patterns, because even though they've cut locks, they've moved blocks, and we've had game cameras up there, 500 people, they're kind of violating the rules of this being closed. Most of them are actually pedestrians, but there are a number of cars. And interesting thing about Facebook posts, people like to claim ownership of what they do wrong, go figure. But we continue to adjust that. So we have purchased used concrete barriers. They are working, I don't know if the contract got completed or not, but it's an acquisition of 220 feet of concrete barriers. And we are getting quotes from multiple different companies as far as getting signals out there. So it'll be signalized one lane for the indefinite period of time. But this and Miami Foley are both eligible for federal money through the governor's declaration. So thanks to the governor for finally getting that done. That's a very quick overview. Shiloh Levy is another one that's pretty hot on my list right now, so we can get the request for proposals out. We can get some design work going on that project. That's very quick.
Thank you, Chris. Don, what about the library?
Happy New Year, everyone. In the most recent library board, Tillamook County Library Board, the Citizen Advisory Board for the library meeting, we looked at and they moved forward the programming policy for the library. We didn't really have anything in our policy portfolio for that, which can cause a lot of issues for libraries and has in many places around the country. And so I expect that I'll be sending out a draft of that to the commissioners in the coming week, and then we'll get it scheduled for consideration in front of the board probably later this month. And it's pretty standard. Just basically covers the fact that we do programming and how we do programming as a library. It's important, I think, right now to get that up and running as well, because we're getting our act together with programming. When I got here, things just kind of happened as they happened, and hopefully the programming, was building over time, but it would kind of it would have peaks and valleys based on how much time and attention people had to give to planning for that, and especially with vacancies and whatnot. We're now running on a format where we will be doing a 2-month plan and planning about a month out for that. So in January, we're planning for our March and April programming schedule. It'll allow us to get the information out to the public sooner so that people can make plans around the programming, as well as it'll allow us to be a little more intentional about what we offer to the public. That I think is important on a countywide basis just to know, so that if you are wanting to partner with us on programming, which I highly encourage, you should just be thinking about it as at least a couple months in advance of the dates that you're wanting to do that for. If you ever have questions about how to partner with us around programming, just reach out to me. I'm glad to just have a general discussion about it. But I always want to make sure that we use our programming where and when possible to advance the county's mission as a whole. In that same meeting, the library board looked at an emerging issue around the consortium we're in. We're currently in a consortium with Ocean Books, which is Newport, and then the Driftwood Library out of Lincoln County. And so years and years ago, we were a part of a much larger consortium that broke apart when the integrated library system software we use changed over. And that is the software system that underlies all of the services that we provide, our catalog of materials. So think of it as the card catalog in a software form. And that so that consortium, that group is trying to re-engage with each other, and that would involve moving to a new integrated library system. And so the board has been talking about it for some months, and a working group between the Chinook Library Network and the Ocean Books Library Network have been meeting to talk about what that might look like. And the board has given a tentative approval to move forward with planning for that and talking about an LSTA grant that would support the a move to a new integrated library system down the road, as well as combining of the two consortium, which would allow for greater access to materials for everyone in Tillamook County. It would be a larger network of libraries to pull from, as well as reconnecting us, I think vitally, with the Tillamook Bay Community College Library, which when that change happened, it severed the sort of tie between this library system and that library. So we are working through that. I definitely will be bringing more about that to the commissioners and to the board in the year ahead. So that's something to look forward to in 2024. In this case, I think the really great news about it is oftentimes you're thinking about that sort of change, and it is it has added expenses with it that increase the overhead for the library. In this case, it will actually significantly reduce the overhead for the library, because moving to, there's an open source system that would be significantly less expensive than the current system that we have through Innovative. If you have more questions about the details of that, I'm glad to provide more in offline meetings. And then lastly, we have a systems librarian position that'll go out for recruitment this month. We're really excited for that. That position will be really key in working through the issues of the consortium and making sure that our integrated library system is really serving the people of Tillamook County. And I believe that's all I have for this month. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Don. Jackie, do you have anything for the court?
Justice Court is just as busy as we've been for the last probably 6 months. We ended the last year with almost 6,000 citations for the year, which is up quite a bit from the previous year. So that's it. We're just trying to keep our head afloat.
Thank you. Joel, do you have a report for us this morning?
Good morning, everyone. Nothing for the group today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff Brown, do you have a report for us this morning?
Yeah, you guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Turn my camera on. It'll be a little bit dark until it adjusts. Not sure how many people are aware of this. Some may. Excuse me, wasn't a big secret, but we also didn't do a lot of talking about it. But there was so a bunch of emails that were sent out last week with bomb threats. We got word from Chris Hamilton with our courts, who had forwarded an email from the Oregon judicial system, Oregon judicial department, who had gotten this, and the bomb threat was very vague, very general, but it also talked about bombs being in every court. So we dealt with that appropriately, but we tried to do it quietly. The next day, both Pioneer Museum and the Air Museum got almost the same exact bomb threat, and so we dealt with those as well. So we're working with the FBI, or we at least gave the information to the FBI, because it seems to be statewide, possibly even nationwide, maybe even international. We don't know what level it is. They were all from the same group, and one reason we didn't do a lot of talking about it is because the last statement they made is that they wanted attention for this through the media, saying that we need to give their information or their name to the media, so that otherwise the chaos will ensue. So naturally, we don't want to feed into that and give them that information. So we haven't gotten any, to my knowledge, since last week, but that did go on, and it seemed to be not only in Tillamook County but statewide at least. We did a release about a couple of high-level calls that we had recently. Both were weapons oriented or related. The one in Rockaway, which lasted a very long time, the gentleman did have the loaded firearm, the loaded pistol in the sock, and he pointed that at the deputies and troopers a couple different times, but because it was in a sock and it wasn't crystal clear, deputies showed restraint. they showed restraint, generally speaking, because he was actually pointing a very large knife at him multiple times, and even after he was tased, he still tried to come after him with the knife. So they did a very good job on that one, as well as the one down south here a little more recently, where the guy had multiple knives, as well as multiple air-powered rifles. And, you know, those may not be as significantly powerful as a firearm, but they do, if you've ever actually seen one of those air rifles, they are fairly powerful. So we did have both of those. Staffing wise, we've got 4 people that are actually going to be scheduled for the psychological portion of the background, which is one of the final stages, hopefully this month. So that's good, because they've made it through some of the hardest parts as far as the background process is concerned, and they're on that final stage. So we're very hopeful about that. That's 4 more people, and I believe that Under Sheriff Kelly told me that the 20th or sometime later this month we're conducting interviews, and last I heard there was an additional 3 candidates for both corrections and patrol divisions. So fingers crossed there that we get some good candidates out of that. Otherwise, we're just dealing with things as we go. So that's all I got.
Well, Sheriff, I do want to mention it's a whole different year of where you are for staffing. You know, as these candidates continue to make it through, I know when we were talking this time last year, we were significantly understaffed. You still have some vacancies, but I feel like that staffing issue has really been improved. So great job with your team in getting those positions filled, and we'll keep on working with that. Randy, last but not least.
Good morning. I'm learning how to multitask. I'm also in a online training course right now, but so anyway, basically to start off with this week, the biggest thing is the team tides that are going to be coming on the latter part of the week on the Thursday and Friday, it looks like. Weather Service, of course, has been sending out the high surf warnings, and so that leads to a little bit of coastal flooding that we'll probably see this week. But luckily, the reports on river levels are that they will behave themselves and stay in the banks. But that, of course, can change depending on the amount of moisture that we're going to be getting, you know, through the week on that. The other thing that's been going on here, the Office of Resilience and Emergency Management has a program. They're a state agency under Human Services. They have they're basically the mass care people of the state, and they have a food vendor program that they have, to where if we need meals brought in during an emergency, that is a resource that I can go to, and they contract with various vendors throughout the state to provide those meals. In the past, they have had to come out of Lincoln City and or Portland, which is not very easy to have happen. So luckily, we've been meeting with a couple of vendors here up north. We met with the creamery, and they're on board. They're ready to go. They just need to fill out paperwork, get the contract signed. Also, Bunker Grill is the other restaurant that is interested in participating in this food vendor program. I did find out with Katrina Hull, the South County Vice President down there, that she also has a couple of food vendors down there that will be interested in signing up for this program. So hopefully that's good. So when we need some meals brought in here, they're not coming in from way out of county, which will really help us out a lot. The last thing I have is that you've probably a lot heard about the Resilience Hub grant that is being put out by the state. And working with our TC4 group here, they've determined that they would like to put together a county-wide grant proposal, which is something that the state is really happy with, to see that the different communities are going to band together and put in a county-wide type of grant. And so they're working on that. The grant will be due about in April. So they've got a couple of subcommittees set up to look at the needs throughout the county. So that's pretty exciting, and hopefully that's going to help make sure that we can secure some of that funding for here in Tillamook County. And that's all I have for right now. Just be safe out there. The weather is not going to be nice this week, so just enjoy the rainy season, but be extremely careful. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Randy. Is there any other questions for folks online, or did I miss anybody by chance? Any other questions for the group?
I have a question for the group. Morris, so the state modified their contracting limitations as far as we hire a fair amount of subcontractors, less than 10,000. The rules start changing at 10,000 above, and the state modified that 10,000 threshold to 25,000. I don't know, and this is a question really to Rachel, but it's pertinent to the group. Do we need to do a board order? Is that something that we just automatically comply with state law?
I am working on that right now, Chris, and we'll be reporting back soon. That's on my radar.
Thank you. Yeah, it's, we have a lot of things delayed right now until we get reimbursement from Federal Highway, but that's going to come back on the radar eventually. So I just thought it was pertinent to the group. Thank you.
Any other questions for the group? Any suggestions for future business? Having not heard any, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 10:11. Thank you, everyone.